personally, genetic drift is my favorite mechanism of evolution. It is my favorite in many respects because it can be thought of as default evolution. It's evolution that always occurs in any population that has variation and is of finite size. In other words, it occurs in any real population we'd actually see. It occurs from nothing more than a population mating and producing the next generation. Nothing else is required. Understanding how genetic drift operates in a complex system really requires a background in statistics. But fortunately, understanding genetic drift as a general concept, including why it's an accepted fact of evolution, is really very easy and requires no serious math. Let's first create a scene. We have a group of people that represent various genetic types. We'll represent those types by colors, such as light green, dark blue, and a medium red. These people mate, and as a result, some of those traits get passed down to their children. To make this easier, we'll focus on traits that are only passed down from mother to child. So let's make the men invisible. Also, to keep things simple, we'll assume that mating is random. We could make this more complex if we wanted, but for this class, that's going into too much detail. A different class, specifically focused on population genetics, can provide those details if you are interested. To simulate random mating, let's imagine that these different genetic types are balls in a bag. Simulating random mating is the equivalent to shaking up the bag so that one ball can be pulled out at random. The color is then recorded, and then the ball is placed back in the bag. This process is repeated until the full size of the next generation is achieved. In statistics, we call this a random sample with replacement. We replace the ball in our biological model because the same person might have more than one offspring. In other words, statistically, their genetic contribution might be sampled more than once. The population of children that results from this process reflects the next generation. Let's assume that generations remain the same size, again, just to keep things simple. Would we expect to see the exact same number of light green, dark blue, and red balls? The answer is no. Because it's a random sample, there will be some random changes. Previously, light green was 30 out of 100 balls, which is 30%. But now light green is 36 out of 100 balls, or 36%. Similarly, the percentage of the other colors decreased in this next generation. In statistics, these random changes can be referred to as a sampling effect. In population genetics, with respect to alleles and random mating, this is called genetic drift. In this respect, genetic drift is nature's sampling effect. It's a phenomenon in nature that is inherent to any mating population. And because it results in allele frequency changes over time, it is also evolution in action. This is one example of why evolution as a phenomenon is an observable fact. It can be recorded, and it is an intuitive aspect of what happens from nature's version of sampling effects. You can also see from this example of how the marriage of statistics and population genetics is very complementary. The more you understand statistics, the more you can understand how these changes in frequencies can play out over time.